All rise. We will wait. Please be seated. Vaiva.
Thank you very much. Witness, welcome back. Mr. Steinberg, please continue.
Thank you, Your Honours. We're in open session again, Mr. Witness, and I'd just like to finish up the subject of the transportation of the youth from location number 9 to the training site in Umboronjo. Just before the break, you told the chamber that from where you were at location 9, you could see vehicles parked ready to take the youth. My first question is, what sort of vehicles were these?
The matatu.
And you then said, when I knew they were to come back, I will also from this location, it was easy to see when they were coming. What exactly did you see when they returned?
I will see them alighting. And that is when I will look for the youths who had attended to tell me what they were being trained in the training site.
And is that the time when you got the information from the youths who attended that you've told the court about?
Yes, Your Honor.
Lastly, on this subject, how was this training financed?
Could you please establish first that, in fact, it was financed in the first place?
The training, Your Honor, I was informed by the youths who attended that the money that after the training they were given money ranging from 250 shillings to 500. Others were given 1,000 who are leaders. And this money that they got there was from Mr. Ruto.
How did they know that?
They got information from the training site.
We'll go through one moment, please, Your Honours. Now, apart from information which you've told us you received from organisation number 1, you mentioned that you personally attended certain occasions when things were discussed. The first thing I want to ask you is, did you attend any ODM rallies prior to the 2007 election?
Yes, Your Honor.
And where and when was that?
It was in Eldoret, Your Honor, in one of the stadiums which is close to West Market on your way to Huruma.
Do you know the name of this stadium? What is it commonly known as?
It's known as 64 Stadium, Your Honor.
When was this rally?
I think, Your Honor, it was on 19th or 20th.
Of what month and year?
Of December 2007, Your Honor.
And tell us a bit about this, this rally. How many people approximately attended?
There were many people. I approximate 5,000 to 10,000 people.
And who addressed this rally from the ODM?
I saw leaders from ODM who are in attendance and addressed the rally, including Joe Nyaga, Musalia Mudavadi, and Honorable William Ruto.
All right. For the record, it's Joe Nyaga is correct. I think you then said Musavalia Mudavadi. Is my pronunciation correct?
Musalia.
Musalia Mudavadi. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mudavadi is Mudavadi. Musalia, I'm going to take a guess at. I think they have it correctly there. Yes, thank you. And the third person you mentioned was the Honorable Ruto. Did any of these persons, well, these are the people who addressed the rally. What do you recall about Mr. Ruto's address, Mr. Witness?
I recall Mr. Ruto promising the Kalenjin and people who are in support of ODM victory in the elections, which were just to be held around 1 week to come from that time.
Yes, what else?
I remember Mr. Joe Nyaga telling the people who are in attendance that, especially the Kikuyu people, that they had no room in central Kenya, Your Honor.
All right, let's just get some clarity about Mr. Nyaga's address before we return to Mr. Ruto. What was Mr. Nyaga's ethnicity?
Mr. Nyaga was a Kikuyu, Your Honor.
And which area of Kenya was he from?
I know him to come from the central part of Kenya, Your Honor.
And what language did he address the rally in?
In Kiswahili, Your Honor.
All right. Tell us some more details about what he was saying in relation to there being no room in Central for the Kikuyu people. What was that all about?
The Kikuyu people telling the Kikuyu people to vote in line with the Kalenjin. Because if the Kalenjin decided to send them away from Eldoret and Rift Valley, they had no room in Central Kenya, Your Honor.
All right. Let's return for a moment to Mr. Ruto's address. In what language did Mr. Ruto address the crowd, or languages?
In many cases, he addressed the rally in Kiswahili, and on other parts of his talking, he will switch to Kalenjin.
And what sort of things did he address the rally on when he switched to Kalenjin?
Especially when he was giving incisive words towards the Kikuyu, he will switch to Kalenjin.
We're still talking about the rally on the 23rd of December, is that correct? Sorry, I beg your pardon, on the 19th or 20th of December, my mistake.
Yes, Your Honor.
Can you give us an example of the inciting words that Mr. Ruto used when he switched to Kalenjin on this occasion?
He will talk of rigging and at times I remember him talk about the Kikuyu, that they needed to vote in line with the Kalenjin community.
And you said at line 23 to 24, you mentioned incitive words towards the Kikuyu. What were these incitive words towards the Kikuyu?
Incentive was towards the Kikuyu that I meant were these words that Mr. Ruto used to show that the Kikuyu had to vote in line with the Kalenjin so that they will have to be accommodated in Rift Valley and Eldoret in general.
So the Kikuyu were to vote in line with the Kalenjin, so that they will be accommodated in the Rift Valley. What would become of them if they were not to vote in line with the Kalenjin?
They'll be sent away, or they'll be forced to go away by the natives. These are the Kalenjins.
And I'm interested in,
Your
as
Honor,
far as...
If I can just request that perhaps the witness be asked to just say everything he remembers about what the speaker spoke. That may be a bit fairer.
Well, my next question was, what were the exact words that Mr. Ruto used that you can recall?
I don't remember now, Your Honor.
When Mr. Ruto referred to the Kikuyu, can you recall what words he used to refer to the Kikuyu?
I don't remember now, Your Honor.
All right. Your Honours, can I ask to briefly go into private session for the next, to introduce the next topic?
Private session.
We're in open session, Mr. President.
Mr. Witness, in private session, you just told the chamber that you had received reports of certain meetings held in the area surrounding location number 9 relating to the post-election violence. Please tell us what you learnt about these meetings. Firstly, where were they held?
The meetings were held in houses of elders around that location, Your Honor.
Can you give the chamber the... Well, is it safe to give the identity of these elders in public session? Let me rather seek your views on that.
Let's go back to to private session and get the names and then we'll come back out.
We're back in open session, Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam. Mr. Witness, you've just in private session discussed various meetings that were held at the house of person number 18. You've mentioned a number of people who attended, whose names I will not repeat in public session. You mentioned that the people were of the Kalenjin ethnicity. What I'd like you to tell the chamber about now in public session is what were the main topics of discussion at these meetings, according to your information?
The information that was discussed was one, how to mobilize the people in order to ensure that enough votes are cast from the Kalenjin. Two was how to start to make sure that war starts immediately after if then it will be rigged and PNU and is announced the winner. That is former President Mr. Kibaki. And another thing was how to get funds in order to go and bring poisonous weapons, arrows from Keio. That is, people were trying to get ready in any eventuality, if in case the elections will be rigged and ODM could not win.
All right, just to correct the record, at line 4, what I heard was discussion to get funds, Funds, to go and get poisonous weapons or arrows. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And I believe KO is correctly spelt. Let's just get a little bit more detail there. What was discussed would happen if Mr. Kibaki was announced as president after the elections?
If Kibaki will be announced the president, the youths could start attacking the Kikuyu immediately and make sure they are pushed away from that location, Your Honor.
And after the Kikuyu were pushed away from that location, what was to become of their property?
Their lands would be used to graze the livestock. Their the trees which were on the lands of the Kikuyu will be felled down and all fences be removed. The animals, these are livestock, will be taken away by the Kalenjin for themselves, and also in case, Your Honor, the Kikuyu will try to overcome the Kalenjin. It was agreed that reinforcements will be brought in from the neighboring areas, Your Honor.
How would those reinforcements be brought in?
Elders who are rich businessmen from Eldoret were ready to provide their lorries to transport youths to different locations where they were needed for enforcement, Your Honor.
And do you know the identity of any of these rich businessmen from Eldoret who would provide lorries?
I know one, Your Honor.
Who is that? I think you can mention the name in public session.
Mr. Kibor, Your Honor.
Who is Mr. Kibor? What do you know about him?
He is a rich farmer and a well-known person in Eldoret, Your Honor.
And where was Mr. Kibor? Where would Mr. Kibor get lorries from?
His own lorries. He has lorries for his own, and personally, I took it to mean Kibor will provide his own lorries to transport youth for enforcement, Your Honor.
All right. Now, you mentioned something about getting funds to get poisonous weapons or arrows from KO. Firstly, what were these poisonous weapons or arrows needed for?
To be used to fight the Kikuyu during the war, Your Honor.
And why would you get such items from KO?
The Keyo community is part of Kalenjin as a whole. and they are well known to be making poisonous weapons in terms of arrows. And this is why most Kalenjins, when they need these weapons, which are poisonous, they will get it from KU.
And where were the funds to come from to get these poisonous arrows?
Rich businessmen will get the funds, will donate funds, and where need be, William Ruto will also be contacted to add on funds.
All right. Just to get some a bit more clarity about the dates, when were these meetings held? How long before the election?
Your Honor, meetings in preparation for the 2007 elections were throughout. Others will take place a month before, others will have taken place 2 months before, others will take place a short time before, before elections. The meetings I have information about were meetings that took place not a long time before the elections of 2007.
Can you be any more specific than not a long time?
Around 1 month, Your Honor.
All right. I'd like to move away now from the issue of meetings and planning towards events that occurred just before and after the elections. Now, we know the election took place on the 27th of December 2007. Are you aware of any incidents in the area of Eldoret town on the previous day, the 26th of December, or Boxing Day 2007?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what incident is that?
In the morning of that day, Your Honor, people gathered outside Brookside because they believed that ballot boxes were transported there by 2NK and monoline buses ready for rigging the elections.
Just for the record, is that 2 and K or 2 letter N K buses?
2 letter N and K.
And I see the record has borderline buses, but I believe I heard you say Molo line, M-O-L-O. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor, you are correct. It is MOLO, M-O-L-O, line buses.
Now, what is your...
We're in open session, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. So, in private session, you had just told us that you proceeded from Brookside towards the Eldoret police station, which is also close to a supermarket known as Tuskie's Supermarket, where there were also suspicions that ballot boxes were being hidden. Is that an accurate summary of what you told the chamber?
Yes, Your Honor.
You also mentioned that Tuskie's was near the main stage. What does the main stage in Eldoret refer to?
Is referred as the same as main stage.
Yes, but what is it? To people who are not Kenyan, what does the main stage mean?
This is where buses, matatus, vehicles in public transport stop and also start their journey from Eldoret, Your Honor.
So it's a reference to the main bus and transport station of Eldoret. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And where exactly did you arrive at, without telling us how you got there? Did you go to the police station or did you go to Tuskie's first?
I went to Tuskie's first.
All right. I'm going to come back to Tuskie's because there's a question I'm going to need to ask you in private session. But after that, where did you go?
After Tuskie's, I went to the police station, Your Honor.
And what happened at the police station that you observed?
There was a gathering outside the police station. At the police station, and I had one person talking there, and inciting the Kalenjins against the Kikuyu, Your Honor.
Who was that person?
Mr. Farouk Kibet, Your Honor.
And how was Mr. Farouk Kibet inciting the Kalenjins against the Kikuyu?
When I got there, I heard him talking because he was the one talking at the moment, and he was asking. He posed a question in public, asking in Kiswahili, Wakikuyu waende wasiende. It means, do we let Kikuyu people go or not? And people were chanting and saying, waende. That means, let them go.
All right. For the record, I believe I have the spelling of that. Wakikuyu waende, is that W-A, Kikuyu spelt as usual. Waende, W-A-E-N-D-E. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And wasiende, W-A-S-I-E-N-D. Is that right?
And an E at the end.
Yes. Wasiende.
Yes.
Now, tell us a little bit more about this incident. Where was Mr. Kibet when he was speaking, when he was addressing the crowd?
At the police station, Your Honor.
Was he just standing on the ground? Was he on some sort of platform? Was he, I don't know, on the back of a vehicle? How was he standing? Give us some description.
I saw him standing just in the middle of the crowd, Your Honor.
And as he was speaking, was he just addressing the crowd with his unamplified voice, or was he using some device?
Your Honor, can I request that my learned friend does not lead?
Describe, please, exactly how Mr. Kibet was speaking to the crowd.
I saw him speaking in the middle of the crowd, Your Honor, without using, I didn't see him use any amplifier, or it was not an organized forum where there was amplifiers or loudspeakers or what. I heard him just speaking with his own voice in a big tone, asking, Wakikuyu waende, wasiende, and people were chanting, waende.
What do you mean speaking in a big tone?
Loudly, Your Honor.
Can you estimate the number of people who were present when Mr. Kibet was saying these things?
Around over 200 people, Your Honor.
How far were you away from Mr. Kibet when he was making this speech?
I was around 7 meters, 5 to 7 meters, Your Honor, away from him.
And could you identify anybody else present when Mr. Kibet was making this speech?
Yes, Your Honor. I remember seeing Mr. Henry Kosgei, but I didn't hear him talk. And I didn't see how he left. I saw also and heard Mr. William Ruto speaking at the same point, Your Honor.
All right, we'll come to Mr. William Ruto, but firstly, Mr. Kosgei, who is Mr. Henry Kosgei? And what was his position at that time?
He is a member of parliament from Nandi, Your Honor. I don't remember his position.
What party did he represent at that time?
I know him to have been for ODM, Your Honor.
All right, you say that you heard Mr. William Ruto speak at that time. Before we get to what he said, tell us a bit about where he spoke, how he spoke. Describe what you observed, please.
Your Honor, I don't understand your question, Your Honor.
All right. You heard me asking questions about where Mr. Kibet was when he was making his speech, how he was speaking. I want to know the same details for Mr. Ruto, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Like Mr. Farouk also Mr. Ruto was speaking loudly as people were cheering him, Your Honor.
Where was Mr. Ruto when Mr. Kibet was asking the crowd whether the Kikuyu should stay or go?
He was in the midst of the crowd, Your Honor, close to Mr. Farouk.
And what did you hear Mr. Ruto say when he addressed the crowd?
He said that he was aware that the administration police will be used to rig the elections. But it will not go through.
Why would it not go through?
I assumed that it was because now that he was aware of it, and therefore many leaders were aware, especially from the ODM, that the administration police will be used for rigging the elections, Your Honor.
What language or languages did Mr. Ruto use when he addressed the crowd?
When he was talking about the administration police, he spoke in Swahili. But he also continued to speak in Kalenjin, Your Honor.
And can you recall what Mr. Ruto said to the crowd when he spoke in Kalenjin? And if you know the exact words, that would be helpful.
I remember, Your Honor, he said, Kitoi chegitoi bonik. That is Kalenjin words meaning, we will do to them what we do to the witches.
I note the time, Your Honor. Perhaps I can just get the spelling on record. Mr. Witness, is Kitoi Kiitoi?
Yes.
Che, C-H-E?
Yes.
Kitoi, same spelling, and Bonik, B-O-N-I-K.
Yes.
I think we can come back to the significance of that after the lunch adjournment. Thank you, Your Honors.
Thank you. Mr. Steinberg, how much time do you need with this witness?
Your Honors, we're progressing quite well, I'm happy to say. I do not anticipate proceeding beyond tomorrow, so I will finish the evidence and witnesses by close of business tomorrow.
So that leaves the defense 2 days to cross-examine, because we intend to complete this witness this week.
Well, Your Honors, I'll hear from our learned friends, but I would be surprised if they would be able to complete it in that time.
Your Honour, for the Ruto defence, we do have significant questions for this witness, Your Honour, and we expect will take, at the minimum, 2.5 days to 3 days. We do have quite a bit, Your Honour.
Mr. President, my estimate is that I will need 2 sessions.
We are scheduled to start the next witness. When, isn't it on Monday, as it currently stands?
Mr. President, if I may, what I'd propose, as Dato Shyamlal Agendra and my learned friend Mr. Keegan have said, there's significant questions for this particular witness. Given my London Friends timescale, it looks like we'll be starting on Thursday. It seems that the best we're going to do is finish by close of business on Monday. I would ask that in those circumstances, we be given that time to cross-examine, and we start with the next witness on Tuesday the 25th. Your Honour, Ms. Ruto will be in attendance, and if we start on the 25th, it will give us time to finish this particular witness. If that finds favour with the bench, that's my application.
We will rise now for the luncheon break, and witness, you will join us at 2:30. You will rejoin us at 2:30. The blinds down, please, to usher the witness out of the courtroom.